My notes are telling me that there are 4 songs in Bambi, but I only remember one, and I think the rest of the world only remembers one. So let's figure out what the other 3 were on today's episode of That Song from That Movie. Hakuna.
Matata.
Hey. Thank you for joining That Song from That Movie, the journey through the very best and worst of movie songs. I am your bird host, Dietrich, and today we're joined by the man who would never say eating greens is a special treat, Alex.
You're right. I would never say that.
That's one of the things I think I'd know most about you. I could actually introduce you as, this is Alex, he hates vegetables.
Yeah, so being a vegetarian for the last year and a half has been quite
God, yeah, my God.
When I was going through the quotes, I saw that one, I was like, I'm going to have to use it for Alex. Known vegetable hater.
Known vegetable hater, yeah.
And we're also joined by the very brave and very wise, and that's why he's known as the great prince of That Song from That Movie, Ben.
HR came down hard on you.
I'm trying to make up for it.
There's a file and everything.
Lawsuit pending. Thank God.
What have we been watching this? Well, peek behind the curtain, we haven't recorded in 2 weeks, so what have we been watching the past 2 weeks?
I watched that Army of the Dead. You know, the Zack Snyder film on Netflix. Yeah. Terrible.
With Batista.
Terrible. Absolutely shocking. I just don't get what's new about it or anything. I thought, maybe he's doing something cool. No. Just Vegas is infected. The wall built around it. We got to go in for some money. Right. Cheers.
Why do they need money in the middle of a zombie apocalypse?
Well, I don't think it is. I think it's Vegas got infected and they built a wall around it.
Oh, so only
because
Vegas
obviously there's a lot of money in Vegas.
Are they like they're like bank robbers then?
Yeah, it's basically like Ocean's 11, but with zombies.
Is the joke supposed to be like that people who go to Vegas are brain dead or something like that?
There's a lot of like, Elvis impersonators dressed like zombies. A lot of what's his name? The behind the candelabra guy.
Oh,
Liberace, yeah,
Yeah.
Playing the piano as a zombie, that sort of thing.
What about you, Alex?
Well, because it has been 2 weeks, I have actually watched some films. So I watched Tenet, which was okay.
Could you hear it?
No, not really.
So they've not fixed it for the home release?
No, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it wasn't ideal. Like it was difficult to understand most of what. But I feel like actually, like you didn't need to hear it because it was so hard to understand what was going on anyway. That I don't think any of the dialogue would have actually helped. But I kind of liked that it just felt the need to not really explain much about what was happening, and you just kind of had to let it wash over you. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but that is what happened.
It's a thing.
Yeah, it was okay. It felt like they were maybe setting up a sequel, which worries me.
Tenet 2 doesn't have the same sort of palindrome effect.
No. To what?
To Tenet 2.
To what? To what? So I watched that, and I also watched The Woman in the Window, which is a Netflix film.
Wait, The Woman in the Window? Is that based on like the 40s film?
No, well, so it's based on a book.
Okay, so the film is probably based on the book.
No, so the book, the character in the book is really into like old Hollywood sort of like thriller movies. Yep. So that's where the reference comes from. So the actual name of the book is based off that original film.
Right.
But the film is awful. It's absolutely. It's got a stellar cast. It's got Amy Adams, Gary Oldman, Julianne Moore.
Oh, it's that one. Oh yeah, I literally put it on and then something happened and I had to turn it off. So there's no point going back to it.
The book is okay. The film is god awful.
I don't read books. So.
Yeah, well, we'll just avoid this entirely then.
D?
Well, because it's been 2 weeks, I have also watched some films. So I'll pick a choice cut, which was Netflix, The Mitchells versus the Machines.
The Mitchells versus...
It looks very good on the trailer, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, so it is good. I wouldn't say it's great. No. Like a lot of people are claiming like it's like the next big animated movie, like animated classic. I know it needs another 20 years, Ben.
It does. Everything does.
But if you're going to watch it, I would say just keep watching until... well, I'm not even going to say, but you'll know when the scene happens, because that's worth the whole movie, like watching all just for that one scene. So that's my tease for that, I guess, because I don't want to ruin it.
Good lad.
So today's episode is another step on our Disney marathon, so this time it is Bambi. So to find out what was happening in the world when the movie came out,
Time for some history.
Now that was amazing.
Hey, we have one jingle now.
We have a jingle.
Do you want to hear it again?
Yeah.
Well, every time, yeah.
Time for some history.
What's the intonation on the I? History. Got on Fiverr?
Well, I didn't want to spend any money on it.
We are cheap. Also, like, do we call it a marathon if between what the films we're also doing a lot of other things? It's like running sort of like a few miles in the marathon and then just pausing for a week and then carrying on.
Yeah, it's a triathlon.
Okay, so we are going back to August 1942. The war is still raging, so most of the news is always dominated by this. But interestingly, the Manhattan Project commences, which was, for those unaware, a research project led by the US, which lead physicist Robert Oppenheimer and his scientists developed the world's first atomic bomb, which apparently was a bad move. Years later, Oppenheimer would make the famous remark of the event, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds," which is, I mean...
Dramatic.
Yeah, very dramatic. I think he said it on a radio show, and I think they asked him to re-record it to make it sound better as well. So, clearly...
Can you just perform that line a bit better?
Yeah, well, really Shakespearean. I am become death.
It's a shame we didn't say time for some history, because I could have used that.
I'll get Orson Welles to come in and do it. In other news, Start, a football team in Kiev, played a game against the German Luftwaffe, which was dubbed by news at the time as the Death Match. Against all odds, Start won 5-3, and subsequently 8 of them were arrested and tortured, and 4 killed. So the Luftwaffe weren't exactly good sports about that loss.
I was going to say, who really lost that match?
Yeah, it's a good point. I know, it's just ridiculous. It's one of. It reminds me of I forget what film it is where you just really don't want to score.
I believe that was an episode of Unfabulous.
Maybe it was.
I was thinking it's probably like Escape to Victory in some way. Just should mention that film whenever we can.
No, it was Unfabulous.
And in incredibly creepy news, Janet Leigh. Do you know who Janet Leigh is?
Yes, she is the woman from Psycho.
She was the woman from Psycho and Touch of Evil. So yes, very famous star. She married John Kenneth Carlyle at the age of 14. So I don't care when that is and what period. It's weird. It's wrong. I think he was 19 at the time and they eloped. Guess how long the marriage lasted?
A month.
Slightly longer.
Oh,
You
2 years.
clearly
2
underestimate their
months.
love. It was 4 months. Shocking.
Oh, wow.
God, honestly, such a weird time. Anyway, apparently a film called Bambi also came out, which is Disney's 5th animated movie of the time, directed and supervised by David Hand. So this is a Disney classic in which involves a young deer named Bambi as he navigates through the stages of life in his woodland home. So as a boy, he learns from his doting mother and his father, the great prince of the forest. He meets a beautiful young doe named Feline, and as he grows, he learns that there is a tragedy as well as beauty and joy in his forest, and on the path to adulthood. So, what do we think of this film?
I think this film had a bigger impact on me as a child than it did when I watched it as an adult. As a child, I thought it was incredible. I used to cry at the end of it, and now I watched it back going, oh, it's not that good. This isn't really. Like, there's bits that are really good. Like, one of the songs we'll come to, and do we talk about that scene yet?
Well, you can talk about whatever you want, Dietrich.
Spoilers for a really old film. When Bambi's mother is killed. Those bits are really good, but the rest of it just feels like filler for like a short cartoon. But similar to Pinocchio, actually. I'm not sure if that's because they didn't have enough to begin with. Yeah, it didn't quite land the same way for me as an adult. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, probably similar. Like, I think you said, there's a few real standout scenes, especially one with a song, so I'm hoping we're talking about the same one, but we'll find out later. I think for me, what I didn't like about rewatching it recently was that I felt like, at least with Pinocchio and Dumbo, there's like a real strangeness to both of them, which still makes it sort of charming to watch now. Whereas I felt like this one, there wasn't a great deal to it. It felt like it was sort of just less imaginative, I suppose, and it didn't really grip me with anything that it put out there. It was sort of just a bit. It felt like it was a film compiled like almost entirely of offcuts of other films. like just seeing some of the films that they just plonked together. So I kind of agree with you. I don't really have much of a memory of this one from childhood anyway. So rewatching it's a bit like, maybe this is why we didn't watch it as a child. Maybe my parents couldn't sit through it because it's just a bit dull. I always thought that Bambi's mum died near the beginning of the film. I don't know if that's just... It's clearly just a mismemory, because she dies probably halfway through. I think it's about half an hour, 35 minutes. So I don't know where I got that from, but I've just always had in my head that she died right at the beginning.
That would have been a bit of a brutal opener, wouldn't it?
Well, that's why I thought that that's what it was. I thought that it was like a really shocking beginning, and actually I think the film would have made more of an impact on me recently if that is how it began. But yeah, so I mean, it just kind of was a nothing film for me. Luckily it was only an hour long, so didn't have to sit through it for too much long. Yeah, Ben, you go.
I'm kind of the opposite of D, which is quite interesting. I had a very pigeonholed view of this film as a kid. I thought it was the film where Bambi's mother died, and that's it, and it's scary, and it's tragic, and it's sad. So why would I want to watch it? And similar to Alex, I thought it was fairly simplistic because, yes, it's probably the first Disney film of this period in which isn't as imaginative, isn't as fantastical. It's about, I guess, anthropomorphized animals in a wood, and that's it. There's no sort of magic. And in a way, that's kind of, as an adult looking at that, I quite like that there isn't like a sort of a get out of jail free card. In all the other Disney films, I feel like when the bad things happen, something magical fixes it. And it's quite a common trope, I guess, of Disney. Something magical comes to save the day. Here, it teaches a lot to a kid about, these things do happen. This is nature, this is life. People die, bad things happen. That's how it is. Life carries on, life continues going on this cycle, which is quite... Yeah, it does find a way. True. And the film kind of, its moods and scenes match the seasons quite well. And I think that's why it probably doesn't start with the death, because it starts in spring. And the death happens in the autumn period. There's the kind of the burning of the forest, which again is, that sort of end of summer, life and rebirth again in the spring. And I find, as an adult, how the villain, I guess, which is just us, man, yes, is off screen for the entirety. I know they come across the camp and there's the dogs chasing Feline, I think, through a sort of a mountain pass. But yeah, I find that quite interesting to watch back on, as I did a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I had a newfound respect for it watching it back, because I really didn't care for this film for the past decade or so. And yeah, it's an incredibly environmentalist film for the time as well, when people probably didn't give a crap. And nowadays, I think that's a lot more pertinent. So yeah, I thought it was amazing, actually.
Interesting. You make some good points. But
it's all I ever want from life, Alex, for you to sort of accept me.
Well, I think you do, but I think for me, you could still do it with an element of imagination or fantasticalism, if that's a word, which I think it's not.
You've coined it.
We've coined it again. Because I think we've done a film that's relatively similar to this before, which is Watership Down, which kind of tells a very similar story in a lot of ways, particularly about environmentalism and the brutal nature of life. But I don't know. There's just more to it. There's more mythology about it. There's more. I don't know. I just think that there could have been something just to spruce this up a little.
Yeah.
Because it is just a little bit. I think simple was the word you used. I think that's kind of right. But I think you do make a good point. And I think the morals of the film are very good for the time, especially if you compare it to a lot of other Disney films where maybe they're not so much. Yeah. And I think that's definitely one thing that is going for it.
We did say at the time, I think, in the Watership Down episode, that was an adult film masking as a sort of a film for kids.
Yes.
So I think this is a film for kids.
Probably why I enjoyed it more.
Yeah, probably. You are dead inside as well.
Yes.
Do you want some facts? Factoids.
Yep.
So for those unaware, Disney is often categorised into 7 different periods. D, do you know what those are?
Original recipe.
Yep, go on, that's one. Good.
Renaissance, post-Renaissance.
That's 3.
Modern Renaissance.
I'm surprised you got that one. That's the one people forget.
Don't say it.
Are these genuine?
No, this is coming out of the original recipe.
I thought you were talking about like KFC or something, but then when Deb was like scenting, I was like, are these the genuine tiles?
Yeah, the post-most Renaissance. No, there's kind of different eras, but like the first era
Original
of
recipe.
the films is not original recipe. No, you may coin them that if you'd like, but it's known as the golden era of Disney.
Oh, wow.
Its first 5 films are the golden era. So,
Golden fried chicken.
Yeah, like the golden skin of the fried chicken.
I'm scratching my face and rubbing my eyes. So this bookends those 5 films. 5 classics. I don't think you can argue that. I mean, obviously you can maybe like them, but they are famous, big films. So we had Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi. They're the 5. Yeah, is that right?
That sounds right.
It's then followed by what's known as the package era, or
It's the absolute drizzling shits.
yeah, basically, yeah. That's the that's the. I don't know what part of the KFC analogy this would be.
I don't know.
The
The original KFC fries.
The mashed potato.
What, name one film that's in this era that defines it?
Probably the most famous is the Three Caballeros.
Yeah, that's probably the best one as well.
Other ones you might not have even heard of: Melody Time,
It's awful.
Fun and Fancy Free.
Awful.
Exactly.
Make Mine Music. Awful.
Yeah, they're not great. They're not well known. I think the next time Disney kind of gets back to its sort of classics, it's known as the Silver Era, which I think starts with Cinderella.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, these films are not great, and I think Disney was bought or at least funded by the government to make propaganda films. So they became, a lot of the animators went off to the war, so they had really slim budgets. They became very sort of basic, few animators. It was just very nationalist films. I think there's even a Donald Duck sort of Nazi film, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he's like behind enemy lines,
Yes.
fucking things up.
Yeah, basically. That's one to watch. So this kind of is the last film for a while. And I don't think it's many years. I think it's about 8 years, I think, until 1950, I think, Cinderella. But there's a lot of crap after this. And Bambi wasn't exactly a success of the time. Similar to the films that came before it, not a lot of people were going to the cinema. This is wartime. So I think it did really, really poor at the box office. A lot, like you said, Alex, also felt it lacked that Disney magic, including our best friends, I say sarcastically, over at the New York Times.
I think it was lacking something else that they...
Not enough blue tits.
Not enough blue tits. They wanted more Twitterpation. A lot of critics at the time felt they were jeopardising their legacy.
Wow.
I know, yeah, those were the terms.
God, how would they have reacted to Home on the Range?
Probably New York Times probably loved it. However, it's now considered, I don't think you can argue, a classic on many standards, even if you consider it traumatic. It had a lot of uses in environmentalist sort of leaflets and pamphlets at the time. I think Bambi became somewhat of a face for like what's the bear called in America that's only you can prevent forest fires?
Smokey Bear.
Smokey Bear. I think it was like a prelude to that. Don't know how successful it was. Probably Americans at the time probably tore up the pamphlets, used it to light various fires in the redwoods of Yosemite National Park. But it had good intentions. That's all I can say. And as well known and famous this film is, probably for me it was because of the death, I'd say, and I'm interested to know what you think, the songs aren't great for this film as a general piece.
It's definitely the weakest of all the films we've covered so far, as a whole.
Yeah. It wasn't a killer collection, was it?
It was not a killer collection. So there's 4 songs from Bambi, 4 lyrical songs that we'll talk about. How many of these could you think of before
One.
looking? One? Which one was it?
Do we even need to say?
And it's beautifully beautifully sang as well, Alex. Yeah, that's the only one I was aware of. 2 of them once I played back, I recognised them, but that's the only one that came to mind. And I think it's the only one I ever hear on like a lot of Disney compilation albums.
Yeah, it's the only one that's still relevant.
Yeah, and like I think with the other films, like when I've listened to the songs that you said, Ben, I've recognised at least a few of them. But this one, I'd listened to all 4 songs and I only recognised the one I already knew.
Well, let's crack on with them then. So the first song of Bambi, and the first song we will be discussing today is Love is a Song, which is very of the time with Disney films, which comes over a title card. D, are you still a big fan of title cards?
Yes.
The Disney ones as well, even though they're fairly boring?
Well, generally, yes. Not so much for this one.
What's this one doing for you?
This one is very forgettable. It's called Love is a Song, and if there's one way to describe this, it's a song. Like,
oof.
Thanks, idiots are genius.
Cheers. I like the choir sound quite hoarse, and it gives it a rich sound, but compared to like previous efforts on previous Disney films, this one it doesn't leave an imprint on my brain. It starts off quite epic, but it very quickly dissipates into general intro music.
Interesting. Alex?
Very much the same, to be honest. I think, like, other than April Showers, I can't, even sitting here now, listening to them a few times this morning, I can't remember how any of the songs actually went.
That's a shame, because I was hoping for a rendition from you.
No.
At least of the initial...
Love song, I have but love song.
Honestly, that's the exact same one that comes to my mind every time I think of this.
Well, for the last song, which we're going to have written, it sounds literally like one song, but they just changed the words. And the first song as well, this one does sound the same as well. They all just sound exactly like that. But I've made a lot of notes on the lyrics because I read the lyrics of the songs because I was trying to actually cement them in my mind a little bit more because they did just keep disappearing. But I think, like, lyrically, the song does get across, like, the themes of the film quite nicely. This sort of idea of love triumphing over sort of the world's sometimes brutal nature, and also like the fleetingness of existence. And I think that's these things that, like,
what every love song should have.
Yeah, there's literally a song in here: life may be swift and fleeting, but in the world, love is eternal. And I think that's kind of essentially the message of the entire film. Like, there's these cycles, the seasons, and they sort of continue and continue, but love sort of like transcends above that. And I think that song kind of does capture that theme lyrically. It wasn't memorable. So it felt like they were trying to match the film lyrically, but they kind of forgot to make the song good.
Like all their notes on pieces of paper, and they're just like, look, we forgot to make it good.
Yeah.
So yeah, this song, I mean, it was written by the great Frank Churchill and performed by Donald Novice with his backing chorus. Like Alex already said, it's about all-encompassing emotions. Love, through loss and pain, continues. Each day like the dawn, I think it says. It's incredibly brief. I think it's 2 verses and a refrain from the chorus. But I remember this one once it started playing. I quite like it. I think it was quite beautiful. And I guess maybe that's just because I've found the film quite touching watching it back. And maybe that's just pendant on your view of the film. My wife instantly recognised this one with a tear in her eye. And I think it leads quite beautifully into the spring part of the film, and it feels a very sort of spring song, sort of open curtain, looking at the world. Very Joey from Friends. Morning's here. Going forward, I think all the songs, if you take this film as seasonal, I think they all feature in spring and summer. There's no winter song. There's no autumn song. Probably wouldn't work. Maybe like a thrash metal piece may have worked over the fire. Don't think there was many thrash metal bands around in 1942, but I will be corrected if the internet points one out.
Potentially they could have been used in Bambi too.
I have never seen any of the... Like, I know there's lots of Disney sequels for, like, straight to DVD, straight to VHS sequels. I think the only one I have ever seen is The Lion King.
Yeah, because it's good, because it's amazing.
But I know there's like a Pocahontas 2, a Beauty and the Beast 2, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
No idea what Bambi 2 is about. Does he just have a kid and it goes through the cycle again? Very Groundhog Day?
Well, on the picture, he's a kid still, so I guess it's more like maybe it's set during Bambi?
Oh gosh, what, just more events and Twitterpation?
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe it's the other seasons.
Yeah, probably. One fact I do have about this song is a bit of a sour one, unfortunately. So it was nominated for Best Original Song the year after, in 1943, losing out to quite a big song in White Christmas. I find it weird, a Christmas song winning in March. But hey-ho. However, Frank Churchill, who was the writer for a lot of Disney classics up to this point, we've discussed him on a few in Snow White, he committed suicide in May 1942, before Bambi was even released. Now, there was reports at the time that there was talk about what led to that was a huge disagreement with Walt Disney over the songs of this film, and that Walt Disney didn't like them. And from what I've read about Walt Disney, he probably didn't say it like that. Was probably a lot harsher. I mean, if that was the truth. And it's also very simplistic to state that one thing like that could lead to such someone taking their own life, and I think that's a bit unfair. But yeah, it's quite sad, and fortunately, his legacy, I guess, is quite, especially with Snow White, lives on, and I think he had a lot of involvement in Pinocchio as well. But yeah, it's quite sad, that. Okay, moving on to the second song, which is the one you have brought attention to already, which is Little April Shower, the second song in the film Bambi, and in our opinion, the most well-known. So again, this is lyrics by Frank Churchill and Larry Morey, and seems to evolve around a day of fun in which young Bambi nestles up with his mother to witness the rain just before a night storm. So, you obviously recognise this one. What do you think of it as a song?
It's the standout song and scene from the entire film, for me. I'm hoping this was the one you were talking about as well.
It was, yes. Obviously.
Yes. I think it really perfectly encapsulates that sort of sense of delight of watching a storm from inside or from safety. Do you know like that?
It just reminds me of Peter Kay. You know, the look at a guttering. Janice, look at guttering. Look at guttering. Oh, it's coming down.
Yeah, that feel. And yeah, just like the way this scene is constructed. We talked about that scene from Prince of Egypt where the thunder sort of flashes and you see the whale through the water. Yeah. And I guess that's kind of playing on what's happening in this animation with the thunder flashing, and then you see that rain splash every time it flashes. I just think it's really, the music and the actual animation fits really seamlessly with this one. And yeah, I just think when you watch it, this is the moment you remember, other than Bambi's mum dying. So yeah, for me, it was just that. And I think, again, it sort of demonstrates that sort of fleeting nature of things, but it chooses to sort of demonstrate it as a moment of wonder, when a storm could be easily a moment of dread or dismay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's sort of suggesting that the way we interpret moments can define our sort of short, fleeting existence, so why not choose to see things in a more positive light? And I think that's kind of a message throughout the film, and it comes through in the next song as well when we talk about it, about life is short, so why not make the most of it? And I think this scene really gets that message across well, because it could be a really terrifying scene with all the thunder flashing, but it never feels like it. Actually feels the complete opposite. So yeah, I think that's why it really works.
Interesting.
At the end of the day, it's a Disney classic when it comes to songs in their history. We all said it's the only song we could really remember before we started doing this recording.
Yeah.
When I think of the song and sort of the upbeat nature of it, it brings a smile to my face. And I think it's because when I think of the song, I forget about the second half, with the animals scurrying for cover and the cracks of thunder, which are very unsettling, with the cymbals at the same time, which I think is scarier than actual thunder and lightning.
Probably.
So I wouldn't be surprised if this film is responsible for a lot of people's phobia.
Maybe.
I thought it was interesting that Alex you said it for the previous one, but I'm assuming you looked at this one as well. You looked at the lyrics for this one?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Yeah, I looked at the lyrics for one.
Before you looked at the lyrics, could you name any other lyric in the song other than drip, drip, drop, little April showers?
No, I could not.
No, I still now just go. As it hits the ground.
Beautiful sound, the sort of repetition of that.
Beautiful sound.
It was almost like when I saw that there were more lyrics, I was like, I didn't, it just made no sense to me, because I was like, where are these other words in the song? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're almost, can you say they're onomatopoeic? Just the drip, how it's done with the... I can say what I want. Yeah, I can say what I want. Bambi is a dog. This seems quite common of the time. The Snow White... What's the song when she's cleaning up?
Whistle
While You Work. Yeah, there's a lot of that, where the sort of the music's going with the scenes and what's happening. and like directly influencing an action. And this is probably, I think, the greatest example of that in all of Disney, because this song is incredibly unique. I think it's very much a scene, it's like stop and let's just have a song. That's just kind of, going on more of a background. It's like paying attention to all the detail that's kind of happening about. It's not developing a character. It's not providing exposition in a sense. It's very much just a piece of mindfulness. Like there's a storm happening, let's focus on it. Which I think is incredibly rare for Disney. Like with some of the little sort of unique little bits, like is it like a partridge or a pheasant kind of running with a mouse under it and it runs into its home or hovel? Like little bits like that just really stand out. I found the bits with the wind quite frightening. Just as a kid, I remember thinking, like, I think, is it like the actual choir that's doing the wind?
Yeah.
It's really cleverly done, yeah. Just, whoa, whoa! But yeah, like, the first few musical notes, just as the first drops of rain starts, it's so clever, so well done. The song itself runs quite cyclical, and I think, again, the cyclical nature of the film, this song epitomises that. It's so well done, and is worth talking about the songs of this film just for this song, because the other two are a bit lighter, shall we say.
There is that moment of, like, fear within the song. It basically just encapsulates the full story, doesn't it? From, like, fun and enjoyment, then kind of it moves into that sort of, like, period of fear. And then it, like, drifts out again to shows, like, you can come back out the other side of loss and fear and whatnot. So actually, like, this song almost is the full film in miniature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And maybe they should have kept it as that.
Just this one little scene. You do love a short Disney film.
I do.
So, the third song of Bambi, third of four, is Let's Sing a Gay Little Spring Song. The song marks how spring is here, sung by a choir of birds, to the great annoyance of the owl, which I think I am understanding a lot more as I age, who is watching from above. What do we think of this song, then?
It's all about the owl.
It's all about the owl.
I've got a question about this. How has there not been a Disney Plus spin-off for this owl?
Friend Owl, as he's known, apparently.
Oh, maybe that's why. That's not a good name for a TV show.
Friend Owl.
Friend Owl.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about the owl as a character.
Much like Love Is a Song, it's very forgettable.
Yeah.
Outside of the owl's antics. But it's the antics that are more memorable than the actual, like, song going on. Because he's not singing it, really. Other than, I think he sings it, like, one sort of, like, mockingly.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you how the song goes, and I listened to it, like, before we started recording just to make sure, because it was the one that was really not in my brain.
Yeah.
And I still can't remember how it goes.
Yeah, I listened to it about an hour ago and I've forgotten of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of forgotten how it goes as well. I mean, am I right in thinking that the song comes just after Bambi's mum's died?
No, it's before that, isn't it?
I felt like it was maybe the scene afterwards. I could be wrong.
I can't remember. I felt like it was before. They're all really young, and it's kind of
no, because at the end of the scene, Bambi's like an older deer with stags and stuff.
I can't remember.
I think it comes just afterwards.
Say it with the point, and then.
Well, my point only really works if it comes afterwards.
Just say it anyway. Don't let a thing like the truth get in the way of a good point.
Okay, then. I will. So, like, I think what this song kind of does well in terms of its placement, if it does indeed come after the Bambi's film, is that it kind of tries to reinforce this message of, like, positivity. And I think there's a lyric in there that's like, things always seem right when you're chipper and bright. So it's sort of suggesting, like, you have to kind of just get over the darkness that's happened before and move on with life, like, endure. But I think, like, grouped together with the owl's irritation by it, it kind of... It's almost like a challenge to this ideal that you should just be okay with things that happen by nature. And I think, like, the song wasn't memorable, but just like its placement within the film felt memorable. If it is indeed where I say it is.
Lots of like little asterisks there on your point.
Yeah, I just think it puts like a slightly more sinister, dark edge to that message. So it kind of shows you both sides of it. This idea of like having a positive outlook, because it's not always easy.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Actually, I've not thought about that. I think because my focus was all on Friend Owl. He steals the show.
Yep.
He should just be called Friend Owl. I don't care if it's a terrible name, do you? Alex, have you ever been Twitter-pated?
No.
Hmm,
How long for the day? Long for the day.
Long for the day.
And I think as well that's why this song comes after the death of the mother, because they then all see the three different love interests, don't they?
Mm, yeah.
So I think it is when they're older after she's died.
Yes, they're very much girls, icky. And then they're like, girls, not icky.
Exactly.
I think the thing that I empathise most with Friend Owl about is, especially at this time of the year, so we're in June, it's quite hot at the moment, fortunately. I've got my window open in the night. How annoying is Birdsong? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. Thank God for birds and all that. But, God, they're so loud. I want to sleep.
It's not quite as annoying as your cat sat at your window trying to get you to come down and bring her inside. That's more annoying.
That's not a gay Little Spring song, is it?
No. It is not.
Is it any of those words?
Well, it's spring. Actually, it's not.
It's not, is it? So, moving on to the fourth and final song that bookends the musical numbers of Bambi is Looking for Romance, which is the final song for the film, and for me, most forgettable one. It's a love song, for all intents and purposes, between Bambi and Feline, whose affection he has earned after he defeated Rono, a rival stag, in battle. People forget that bit. It's the fact that a deer's called Rono. It makes me think of like an American Italian sort of in the Bronx.
It's very Grease.
Very Rono.
Yeah, it's very Grease.
Get the fuck out of here. You're cop.
Instead of having a battle, they should have had a drag race down like a viaduct. Or
he was doing the clicks of the West Side Story as he was moving towards Bambi,
wearing a dragon coat.
The song is performed by Donald Novice again and the Disney Choir, with lyrics by Larry Morey and Frank Churchill. Thoughts, guys?
It's a banging song.
Do you think?
Sorry. It's a song about banging, is what I meant.
Yeah, yes.
Hi-oh. No, it's time for that word again, isn't it? It's forgettable.
Yeah, yes.
We've used it so many times on this episode, and this is just, another one. What is the hook of this song? Like, it's all verse. It's less of an actual song and more of like a short form poem with accompanying music in the background.
God, how much better would this have been if it was slam poetry?
If it was deaf poetry.
Yeah.
It bookends a weak set of songs, maybe, let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Like, although that might be giving the game away for when we do best song later on.
Alex?
I think, like you guys have said, it's not the most memorable. Like I said, it really gives me one song vibes from Snow White. But I think that's kind of more so like the canny sort of sound, like it's like they're singing through like a traffic cone or something.
Yes.
And although I do quite like that sound in songs, and I sort of do like the sort of like jazz agey or like sort of 30s 40s kind of standards. I just think like the ones in this film are just not very. They're like you said. There's no real hook. There's no catchiness.
No.
Lyrically, again, and like its placement kind of does serve a purpose. It's just they maybe didn't quite get them quite right. Like I think it's no surprise that the beginning song and the last song are both about love, and they sort of sandwich those two sort of nature songs, as I'll refer to them, in the middle, about spring and April showers.
So the soggy bread that surrounds the deer meat that is Bambi's mother.
Yes, exactly. To go back to the point about love enduring through all this hardship, the first song is about love, the last song is about love, and it's kind of just that connection of the circle, isn't it? And actually you see it very much in the final scene where it's almost a shot for shot of the first scene. So I think like I understand why the song is there and what it's trying to say thematically. I just think, again, they didn't quite nail it with the actual songs, which I think it's a shame, and I think it's the one thing that Disney usually get right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I said, I don't really like this one, but I was surprised that it featured on quite a few Disney compilation albums. Actually, this one features more than Little April Shower on a lot. The biggest one, the Disney Love Songs album, which is not one that comes to mind, but it does move me quite swiftly on to my top 5.
Ooh.
Segue.
Beautiful. I have done my utmost detailed investigative skills, put them to the test, to provide a compilation of several websites. Best Disney love songs. So I've come up with a quintessential list, shall I say, or at least a top 5, for you guys to put in perfect order because you're so good at doing this. What do you think are the greatest Disney love songs? And I'll give you a hint. Looking for Romance is not on it.
No. I mean,
in fact, never saw it mentioned.
the one that's immediately springing to my mind is Can You Feel the Love Tonight from Lion King?
Oh, yeah, that is a good shout.
Yeah, Whole New World is maybe also coming to mind. I'm not sure whether it's a love song. I feel like it's kind of a love song.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the problem is what is defined as a love song in this sense.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I'm just trying to think of songs that have the word love in, and all I've got is Love is an Open Door.
I'll give you a hint. That featured on a few lists.
But not this one.
But not this one.
Not mine. And that's the only one that matters.
Um,
Sorry, Screen Rant.
Beauty and the Beast, I suppose, is a love song, is it? I'm trying to think, like, what is actually a love song?
Then what kind of love are we talking? Like romantic love, like,
Ooh,
or is like
good.
Baby Mine from Dumbo in there?
Keep on that train of thought.
Oh god, it could be. So it could be anything.
It's not every Disney song ever.
Like, could you have Perfect World from Emperor's New Groove because it's about Cusco loving himself?
I mean, could is
Guessing
different to should.
I suppose that song from Snow White, which people seem to enjoy.
Cold.
I actually can't remember.
Then it's probably not on the list.
I'm Wishing. Is that what it's called?
No, it was the one that like it had loads of jazz covers and stuff. But it's probably less expensive.
Someday My Prince Will Come. You mean?
Someday My Prince Will Come. Yeah, it's not really a love song, I suppose, is it?
Right, put your numbers where your mouth is.
Well, I think Can You Feel the Love Tonight will be number 1. That's my shout.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. Clearly, Baby Mine is in there somewhere based on Ben's reaction to me saying it.
Yeah, unless it's like a song from about sisterly love from Frozen or something.
Is there a song in Bolt?
All right, you've got 2.
Taylor's All This Time, Beauty and the Beast.
Okay, Beauty and the Beast. So, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Whole New World. Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, put Baby Mine in then. So we just need to come up with one more love song.
Oh, You'll Be in My Heart. There you go. Put that 5th.
Yeah, go on. Song about friendship.
You got 1 in the right order.
Oh, just 1.
Yeah, in the right order. Which is You'll Be in My Heart is 5th.
Oh, really?
Incredible.
Are any of the other ones in the top 5?
Yes, you got 3 others. You got 3. So number 1 is A Whole New World.
Okay.
Right.
Number 2 was Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
Oh, so we had them the other way around.
Number 3 was Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the only one we didn't get was number 4.
Yes, which is I See the Light from Tangled.
Ooh.
Don't know what that is.
There you go. Apparently, a lot of people. It was it was number 1 on quite a few lists. Listen back, guys. You're missing out.
I've only seen Tangled once.
Oh god, it's amazing. Go watch it.
Okay, so now it's time to determine what is the best song from Bambi. I mean, the answer is Little April Showers, so this is going to be very quick. So my vote is for Little April Showers. Alex?
Drip, drip, drop. Yes.
Looking for romance. Oh. Ben?
Yeah, it's Little April Shower. But I will be interested to see what Twitter thinks to see if Love Is a Song does get any votes, since it was nominated for an Oscar. My wife, that was the first one that jumped to her mind. So I'm quite interested, because we are often wrong. We are not great at reading the public. We are not great at reading the public's mind.
Yeah, the Prince of Egypt episode showed that very well.
Men in Black 2, how did that win? It's an April shower of shit.
Okay, so that brings an end to another episode of That Song from That Movie. Let us know which song you think is the best song from Bambi. And yeah, it's Little April Showers, so we're not getting it wrong this week, I promise. Ben, where can they cast their vote and follow us on Twitter?
At TSFTMPod.
Nice. So you can help the podcast in many ways. You can do it on Reddit by sharing this on a random subreddit. Alex, what subreddit have you?
What's the name of that Donald Duck film where he goes behind enemy lines?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Find
know.
out the name of it. That one.
Okay, yeah.
So you can help us on Patreon by buying merch or by leaving a review. Links on social media and in the episode description that you're watching this on, there should be a link in there. So all that's left now is to do some goodbyes. So it's goodbye from myself, goodbye, and goodbye from Alex.
I'll never be afraid of a good little gay little April serenade.
Beautiful.
Nice. And goodbye from Ben.
Ronno's getting beat. No, he's getting mad.
So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. I've googled what Bambi 2's about.
Go on.
So, set in the middle of Bambi, Bambi 2 shows the great prince of the forest struggling to raise motherless Bambi.
Oh. So it's a father and son film.
I guess so.
Does it have like a weird sort of montage as he tries to teach him how to like hold the ladder while he's replacing the guttering? Or how to like replace the drill bits?
You say like replacing the guttering as if it wouldn't happen, but maybe they lived in the universe of Snow White and they were just doing that chore for her.
yeah.